Well, we could talk about allergies, but let's talk song. The Killers, Mr. Brightside, another anniversary in 2023. 20 years ago, the Killers published the song, and nobody cared about it until they re-released it in 2004, and suddenly everybody was a Killers fan. It's, again, one of my favorite songs, and an interesting song in terms of songwriting for many, many reasons, which we are going to uncover in the course of this Let's Talk Song analysis. So let's go right into it and look at the intro. Now, there is one very, very, very annoying bit about Mr. Brightside, and it's the fact that it's in the key of D flat. I'm very sure that the Killers did this to annoy everybody who wanted to either play along or, in my case, analyze the song and want them to break their fingers, I think, while playing it on the piano or on the guitar. We are going to look at the chords anyway. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's look at the intro first. Well, the intro starts with that guitar line that everybody knows and that only takes 2 or 3 seconds to put us directly into Mr. Brightside mode. And of course, on the piano, I can only show you approximately how it's done. On the guitar, it has to do with changing the tuning, and there are great tutorials online. I'm not going to go into this because all I care about is the songwriting bit. So let's look at the riff, especially at the rock solid notes of the riff, before we look at the verse. So it's intro. What we have got here is an ostinato on the right hand. This is the upper strings on the guitar. And this one doesn't really matter. This is a fancy note, right? But what is very important is this D flat and E flat. Bum ba-dum, bum da-dum, bum da-dum, bum da-dum. This is the ostinato that plays almost throughout the whole song and is an essential element of the guitar riff. Bass notes are D flat, C, and F sharp. D flat for 1 bar, C for 1 bar, F for 2 bars. In terms of chord functions, this would be the 1, and we even have the major chord above with the riff. Then we have something quite interesting, which could also be, I'm interpreting it as an A flat with C in bass. So as a 5 with its 3 in bass. And then we have got the F sharp. I said F sharp, right? I shouldn't have said F sharp. It's G flat. It's very confusing. G flat. Looks the same as F sharp, doesn't it? G flat. And this G flat, of course, has the 4 chord function. It's the subdominant in the key of D flat major. Oh, I'm going to screw up so many times with this D flat bullshit. Never mind. Verse is based on the harmonic ideas of the intro. So we have got bass and guitar playing the same thing from the intro in the verse as well. And the thing that gets added in the verse is, of course, the melody, the vocals by Brandon Flowers. Now, if we look at the melody line of the verse, it's quite interesting. And we're done here. 1 note is the whole verse. Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag and they're going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head but she's touching his. So the last note of the verse is actually a C, is another note, but for the rest it's ridiculous. All along the verse we are riding on that D flat like crazy. And it's a long verse. I don't know about you, but I don't find it annoying. It's because of the special interest that the words in the verse offer that apparently you don't need anything else. Plus, this wordy verse is something that's almost like a rap, right? So that you basically don't need a lot of melodic embellishment to kick it in people's faces. Quite impressive. A thing that I want to mention and add here because it's my thing, melodic rhythm, and especially the first note of the melody. Where does it start? Coming out of my cage on the 2. Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It started out with a kiss. So the melody starts on the second beat of the measure, something that is going to be important once we look at the other sections of the song. In terms of melodic rhythm, it's a lot of eighth notes. Always with a stressed note at the end that's also longer, and a lot of, yes, it's eighth notes. A lot of eighth notes that build up towards that longer note. Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Quite interesting notation, I imagine. I'm going to try that out. And basically nothing else is happening in the verse. Transitional bridge, let's look at the chords first. B flat minor, then it's A flat major and G flat major. In terms of chord functions, 6 minor, 5, 4. This is the maidens. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, but you have to buy the songwriting course. If you want to know everything about the maidens, well, basically I just told you, but never mind. Just make sure I told you the right thing by buying the songwriting course and double checking everything. In terms of harmonic rhythm, which is the speed in which the chords change, we must observe that it's rather lengthy sections where only one chord plays. Okay, so we've got the B flat minor for 2 whole bars, then we've got A flat major for 2 complete bars, and G flat major for even 4 bars that, although it's only a subdominant chord, build up a lot of tension towards the chorus that is going to start on the 1. That much I can tell you already. Melody. The melody, compared to the verse, is rather varied, one might say, because it's got 2 notes. Let's look at them. D flat and C, those are the 2 melody notes. How much music can you actually make by riding on the 1 of your scale, melody-wise? Quite impressive. What we see here, that in terms of melodic rhythm, this very rapid from the verse now gets slowed down. Dun, dun, ba, da, 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 dum, dum, da, dum, bum. So it's a melody full of quarter and half notes, slowing the whole song down in that section. That doesn't mean that the drums or anything else in the arrangement actually slows down, but we have a feeling of everything suddenly becoming slower, just because of the melodic rhythm. The way that the melody starts is it comes from the verse. It's chicken in a drag, just telling the drag. They're going to bed, and my stomach is sick, and it's all in my head now. He takes off her dress now. So we come from a line in the verse, and the bed now, head now is basically a start of the melody, of the new melody on the 1, but with a pickup that came out of the verse. In the chorus, the harmonic rhythm speeds up once again. So remember that in the transitional bridge we had 2 bars per chord, plus the last chord was even played for 4 bars. Now in the chorus we have got chord changes in every measure. Let's look at the chords in root position first. D flat major, G flat major, B flat minor, and A flat major, always with A flat sus first. So it's A flat sus, A flat major. Something that you can do quite nicely when building up towards the dominant chord, which is the A flat chord. Then everything repeats, and it's logical because the last chord of the progression is the 5 and the first chord is the 1. So when we look at the chord functions in total, we see D flat major, 1 chord. Then it's G flat major, 4 chord, subdominant chord. Back to the tonic world, but relative minor, so B flat minor. And then dominant chord, the 5 chord, so this was 6 minor. The 5 chord is a flat major introduced with a flat sus, which is something that a lot of people have done in pop music history to kind of take away the aggressiveness of this 3 in the 5 chord. So the major third in a 5 chord sounds very aggressive, sounds very traditional in a way, and by playing a sus chord in front of it, you can kind of smoothen it a little bit. 1, 4, 6 minor 5. It's not the Axis of Awesome. I have successfully avoided the Axis of Awesome for the first Let's Talk songs. It's going to come at some point, very soon, I suppose. But for now, it's 1, 4, 6 minor 5, not Axis of Awesome. Let's look at the melody. The beginning of the chorus wants to tell us that we stay in that very boring field of exactly 2 notes. So it's jealousy, turning sensitive. Almost like a children's song, right? Like a nursery rhyme. But the second half of the verse then brings in a lot of range. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I'm Mr. Brightside. When we look at the melodic rhythm, we find a clear start on the 1 with a very important word, that is jealousy. Jealousy, 1. Jealousy. And the metric rhythm of the word jealousy already defines the melodic rhythm of the chorus, because we have bang ga gan. So it's dotted quarter note, 8th note, and then half note. Bam ba bam. This is the rhythmic motif number 1, and the rhythmic motif number 2 is ba da ba ba. And those two basically come one after each other. So we've got bang ga gang, da 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 da, bang ga gang, ba da da da, bang ga gang, ba da. And even with the melody getting more complex, the melodic rhythm stays the same. It's always bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 bum. Only at the end, open up my eager eyes, shine is the bright side, have we got a variation in terms of melodic rhythm. Then there is a little interlude based on the chords of the chorus with a little string melody that is something like this. So it's basically ba da 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 da. Again, that's sus2 major. Ba da ba da da da. That note especially is cool because it's the 9 of G flat major. So it's an A flat in the melody. This is normal, the regular major 3. Then we've got 9 in melody, minor 3 in melody, and then sus2 major 3. This repeats twice. Then we've got the second verse that is basically the same as verse number 1 in terms of melody and chords. Then we've got transitional bridge number 2, chorus number 2, interlude number 2, which introduces a new melody. Let's look at the melody in interlude number 2. That Ludwig van guy is everywhere. It's spooking throughout the Let's Talk song. Have you realized already? Let's look at it again. Ninth Symphony. How cool is that? It's a very, and I'm sure they must have thought of it. It's a very subtle wink at what they know in terms of music, and they apply it so subtly that you don't really realize it's there until you sit at the piano and try and figure out what they're doing there. They change a couple of notes, but still the reference to the Ninth Symphony hook, line, and melody is perfectly clear for everybody to see. They do that in the lyrics too, which we are going to look at in a sec. Because there is one more element in terms of melody, that is the outro. This I never. I don't know what it means in terms of lyrics, but in terms of melody it's this. I never, D flat, C, D flat. For the outro, and this repeats 4 times. They are introducing a new melodic idea for the outro, which in itself is another hook line, another very memorable part, which gets very little prominence in the song, right? It's only 4 times in the outro and then the song is over. Maybe one could have elaborated this additional melodic and rhythmic motif a little bit more. It's something that sticks. I never. Plus, it doesn't mean anything. I never. What? I think it's time to look at the lyrics now, where we will find this concept of musical quotation once again in a very clear way. Let's look at the verses first. This very rap-like verses that ride on one note, on the D flat note. Coming out of my cage and I'll be doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. I don't know what it means. I go out and party. Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It's cool lines that don't really mean anything, do they? It started out with a kiss. How did it end up like this? It was only a kiss. It was only a kiss. Let's look at rhyme words. Kiss rhymes with this, but doesn't rhyme with kiss and kiss, because if it's the same word, it doesn't rhyme. It's just lazy writing. Talking about lazy writing, the song only has got one verse that repeats. The second verse is exactly the same words as verse number 1. That's very, very lazy. And it's not even it's very cool words, I must admit. It's not very poetic. The first 4 lines haven't got anything to do with each other in terms of rhyming pattern. Coming out of my cage and I'll be doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It's XXXX rhyme. Started out with the kiss. How did it end up like this? It was only a kiss. It was only a kiss. Of course, it's a stylistic element to repeat a line in order to suggest a lot of thoughts about this, because apparently the song is about a person having a lot of jealousy, okay? And imagining or catching his girlfriend with another lover. The second half of the verse is a direct musical quotation, and it quotes David Bowie's Queen Bitch. Go check out the song online and listen to the last bit, where a lot of words like calling a cab and going to bed and stomach is small, not sick, appear in David Bowie's Queen Bitch, that Brandon Flowers nicely recycles and pays tribute to that great songwriter that David Bowie was. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. So XAXA rhyme. Now that going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest now. AXAX. Rhyming patterns is not something that is thought through well in the course of the verse. let's look at transitional bridge. But she's touching his chest now, he takes off her dress now. So we have got a rhyme, but this now tagline kind of is again a little bit lazy, right? Touching his chest now, he takes off her dress now. Let me go. This line doesn't belong anywhere. Lengthy break in the lyrics, but we are still in the transitional bridge. And then it's, and I just can't look, it's killing me and taking control. No rhymes. It's one of the most successful songs in the noughties, as they say, from 2000 and 2010. And it's perfect proof for the argument that you don't need to rhyme if you want to be successful. However, it's 1 in 100, 1,000, 1 million cases where this was applied successfully, the non-rhyme or chaotic rhyme pattern that they have here. And there are other parts in the song that are definitely stronger than the lyrics. I think Brandon Flowers would agree to that as well. Chorus. The chorus is actually quite nice in terms of lyrics because it almost sounds like a good idea for search engine programming to have the topic of your song as the first word of your chorus. The song is about jealousy. So what is the first word in the chorus? Jealousy. Jealousy turning saints into the sea. This is a really nice image. And this is something that they have come up with, that Brandon Flowers has come up with. Turning saints into the sea, in my interpretation, means that even very solid people, even very solid creatures that don't get irritated very easily, are irritated, turned to the sea by jealousy sometimes. So jealousy apparently is some kind of superpower that even turns saints into the sea. Swimming through sick lullabies. Again, we stay in this sea imagery, swimming through sick lullabies, which is a very, very powerful image for a nightmare, and choking on your alibis. So basically, I can't listen to your lies and alibis any longer. But it's just the price I paid. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, because I'm Mr. Brightside. I don't know what Mr. Brightside means. I don't know who Mr. Brightside is, but apparently he is okay with his girlfriend cheating on him. But it's just the price I paid. It's even his destiny. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes. So while they're at it, I might as well look. Because I'm Mr. Brightside. This is why I always thought that the song was called Mr. Brightside. Because I thought it was about basically a person standing in the window of two other people having it off. I wish there were more to say about verse number 2. But as I already told you, the words are just the same as in verse number 1. One must know that this was the first single. This was the single that got them really started, the Killers. It's probably that naivety of not wanting to write an additional verse or not being able to write an additional verse that was as strong as verse number 1 that got people interested in that group. This is very punk. This is very non-conformist, right? This is not something that you do in your first single. Normally you want your first single to be very, very elaborated and shiny and so on. And they just said, well, that'll do. Quite impressive. That being said, and I know I like nagging about lyrics, the lyrics are great. The lyrics are proof for the fact that you don't need to put a lot of thought into very cool lines if you've got natural talent. That you can just screw rhyming patterns when it's a great song. And this is it. If you like this, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, to leave likes and comments. Also, write me song suggestions in the comments. So songs you would like me to analyze. This would be a great thing. I guess we've talked song. You can talk about allergies now. Open up my